So we've got a set of lyrics that are ready to be time-coded, so we're going to jump right into it. But before we do that, we need to learn about some of the keys that we are going to use. There are several that are helpful within the program. The main keys that you're going to use are your arrow keys, and your arrow keys are going to be used to go around the lyrics so that you can edit timestamps after you've put them in. You will use the backspace to delete timestamps that you no longer need. Your primary input method is the space bar. Now, when you're timing a song, when you hit play on this song, as that song is playing, you are going to use the space bar to insert a timestamp at every Japanese phonetic or at the beginning of every English word. Now, this is a very tedious process. Sometimes you'll play through a line and you'll go back and you'll listen to that line and your words will not highlight at the time that the word starts. So this is where you get to determine whether you want to just delete the timestamps off of that line and try it again completely, or you can even overwrite the existing timestamps. And we'll go through that in just a moment. So beyond the arrow keys, the space bar, and the backspace, another very important key is going to be the backslash key. On some keyboards, it's the tilde key, which is the squiggly line to the left of the numeral 1. If it's not that one, it's the backslash, which is the line that falls backwards, obviously. So, what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm actually going to time a few verses of this song so that you can see it in action. So, every time you see a dot appear, that is me hitting the space bar. If I go back, well, let me do one first and we'll go from there. So, I'm going to turn up the music a little. I'm going to start it and I'm going to bring it up to about the 30 or 40 second mark where this song actually starts. So, that's going to be prior to this key. So I'm going to take my cursor, I'm going to set it at the very beginning of the line, and what I'll sometimes do is sometimes I'll play the song, and right before a line starts, I'm going to hit the space key just to be able to add a point. So let me hit play here. So you'll see up here, I've added a timestamp. Now that timestamp indicates to the program when the white highlight for the word is set to begin. Now obviously that word key did not even start yet, so I've placed it well in advance. Now, in order to get closer to when that key is said, I'm going to use that backslash button to rewind the MP3. This backslash button will rewind whatever line you're on back to the very first timestamp in that line. So watch as I rewind to try to get closer to that first pronunciation. Alright, so in that first line, you can see I went ahead and I added the timestamps to the remaining syllables that are separated. In my experience, I know that lonely is going to be a single syllable, so it may take some time because you may end up putting a timestamp here, another one at the N, and another one at the LY, which in reality the program's not going to do that because it's going to skip the whole word, which is going to make the rest of this line off, which I have already done intentionally. So, as you heard at the very beginning, you heard the first line of that song rewind a couple of times, and that was because I was hitting the backslash key and the space key to try to get closer to that key. Once I was pretty sure I had that key as close as I could get it, I hit the backslash again, and then I timed the rest of that line. Now, once I've timed a line, I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to watch the white font go across that line to make sure it matches up. So, I'm going to hit play again, and I'm going to rewind back to the beginning of this line, and we'll see how off I am. So as you can see, the lonely nanowa is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the song again. I'm going to leave my timestamps in, and I'm going to place my cursor at the very beginning of lonely, because I know lonely is where the mistake starts to occur. So when I hit play, I'm going to rewind to the beginning of that line. I'm going to watch the font go, and once it gets to the lonely part, I'm going to update those timestamps simply by hitting the space key. It will overwrite the existing timestamps in that order. So, let's try that. So you can see that's pretty close to what I was going for. So in the program, when it highlights, that's when it's going to highlight for the singer. So one thing that you can do is you can go back to a line, and if you want to further separate an English word by syllables to highlight properly, you can add in those timestamps manually. Now, normally what I do is I will rewind the song to the beginning of the line, and then I will hit the space bar at the right syllable next in line. Then I'll have to rewind it again, move my timestamp up to the next, and then hit that space bar to insert that one. So watch as I do that. So you can see I've gone back, I've added the timestamps. Now I also added another timestamp at the very end of the Y here. So in a song, when a singer sings and then pauses before the next word is sung, like lonely, nanowa, you don't want the lonely to drag out until it starts highlighting the na. You want that highlight to just end abruptly and wait for that next word to highlight. So what I did is I added a timestamp at the end of the Y to have it highlight the next space, which is nothing basically, so it won't display. I also added a timestamp at the end, and this one will add automatically after the end of that line, and that will indicate to the program to stop highlighting the wa. So that's why you see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the first two here, the first two verses. I'm going to time those, and then we'll come back and discuss a little more. So let's watch that. You can see I'm moving around with my keyboard here. I know I messed this line up, so I'm going to go back and fix it. I'm also going to go back and I'm going to add the syllables to the English word. You can see how I missed the beginning of that line, so I'm going to go back and update that timestamp. Alright, so I've gone through the first 2 verses. They seem to be timed fairly well. A couple of points to note is that I added the timestamps for the individual syllables or areas that I believe needed to break up the English words. You will also notice that I added a timestamp after the knee here because there's a slight pause and I don't want that knee to run into the right on. So that gives you an idea of how that spacebar is used to add the timestamps, how you can overwrite, and how you can use the backslash to rewind an MP3 back to the beginning of a line to update timestamps as well. So the keyboard is really your friend here. So get to know the keys really well. Make sure you know your songs really well. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause the recording, and I'm going to finish timing this song. And always remember to double check your lyric editor over here. By clicking in it, you'll notice that the asterisk is there. And if you did like I did last night, I timed this entire song and I forgot to save. So when I restarted this recording today, none of my timings were done. Luckily, I know the song fairly well, so it should be pretty simple to get done here. Let's see, it's 5:57 now. Let's see how long it'll take me to time this. So I'm going to save this, and I am going to pause this recording to finish it up, and I will be back shortly. Alright, so we are back. It's taken me about 10-15 minutes to time this, and you'll notice that the entire song, with the exception of one verse here, has all of the timecode lyrics in it now. You can see that I've saved my file this time that I don't lose it. And over here on the left, you can see all of the timecodes that I've added in. Now, one feature that I really like about Soramimi is that if you have a line, let's take a look at the one that I missed here, the Kabe wo breakdown, Koeru Made, Yume wo touchdown, so forth and so on. That line, I've already timed up here. So, a really nice feature of Soramimi is if the program finds a line that is similar, as in most choruses in a song are the same, it will automatically add all the timestamps for you if you give it the beginning of the line. So you'll notice that all of these are timed, and it's going to basically take the intervals that it takes to add these timestamps into any other verse that you add it to. Now, be warned that if the timestamps or if the chorus changes in length of the pronunciation of a word, you're going to have to go back and manually update those timestamps. So, I'm going to start the music again. I'm going to rewind to the beginning of this line, and when it ends, I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to hit the spacebar once to start the timecode insertion, and you'll notice that the rest of the line gets added by default. Now, should you add that timestamp too early or too late, you can go back to the beginning of the line, readjust that first timestamp, and it's going to automatically adjust the rest of the timestamps in that line for you to match the previous ones. Now, should the chorus be longer in pronunciation than what was originally timed, you can still go in and update each individual timestamp by hitting the spacebar throughout that line. So you can still overwrite it. It's not a permanent thing. So let's start the music back up. We'll rewind and watch how it auto adds. So you can see it added those timestamps. Now, if the pronunciation is off, you can go back, and as you go through the spaces, you can update each one as the song is playing. So let me finish adding these in, and we will continue from there. So you can see this Koeru Made line is a little longer in this version of the chorus than the original one. So I'm going to go and I'm going to update the timestamps to more appropriately match the syllables. So in the last line, you can see that I started it too early. So all of these timestamps are now off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to correct this last line. I'm going to restart the line at the beginning of this one. I'm going to have my cursor at the beginning of here. And once I hit that, you'll notice that all the rest of the timestamps are going to be where they should be, or as close to what they should be. So let's fix that. So you can see that this has now shifted all on its own. It's a great feature of this program. So with that, everything has been time-coded in this song. One thing you want to do is, once you've time-coded everything, go back through, listen and watch, and make sure that everything's as close to perfect as you can get it. Update any timestamps that you need to. I'm going to pause the recording, I'm going to listen to this song, and make sure it's good, and then I'll be back. Alright, so I've gone back through my song. Everything is about as perfect as I'm going to make it for right now. Once I go live with the song, if I find that something's a little off, then I can go back into the tools here and fix it. So, what I'm going to do now is, you can see the asterisk is here, so it has not been saved. I am going to save my file. And the next thing that we're going to do is, what you see in the lyrics displayer is exactly what you're going to see in the program. That means that all of these underscores are in the program. We do not want that. So we're going to go back over to our lyrics editor. We're going to locate the Romaji button with the parentheses right here, and we're going to click that. And that's going to remove all of the underscores on the right side here. So once those are removed, click the copy. You'll notice on the left side the lyrics display properly now. The timestamps obviously won't be visible in the program. We need to save our project again. Project is saved. This is now ready to test. So, we can close out our tools program. We're going to go to our Soramimi application. We're going to run that. You'll get the standard unknown publisher. You can click yes there. The Soramimi Karaoke app will start by opening a DOS box, and as it finds new music, you're going to see a list of the music get added. Now, the very first time you add MP3s or songs, it could take this a while to run. Now, for me, because these are already here, no problem. You can see there's a couple that I've added in here. Now, with Windows 10, the DOS box here does not disappear. On previous versions, it did. So, simply close this out. A previous playlist that I had, it's going to pop up. This may happen. If that does, you can click no. And you can see that the application is now running. So now we're going to find the application, or the new song that we added, by searching by title. You don't have to use the full title. You can use a partial title, and it will search based on that. So, as you can see, there are some that start the same way. Here is my song. I'm going to locate it with the arrow keys going up through the list, and I'm going to hit enter to add it to my playlist. Now once it's in the playlist will automatically start, and then you can once again see how this is going to look to the singer, or as you see it at the conventions. So you can hear it going, and now it's going to run. I'm going to close that out because I'm not going to test it right now. But that gives you an idea on how you're going to time a song. So with that, I am going to end this recording. I'm going to come back with part 3. Part 3 is going to be how to add songs that someone has given you, as well as the basics of the program itself. So I hope you enjoyed part 2. I know this is a big piece of what everyone has been wanting to do. So please leave me feedback, leave me some questions that you may have about it, and we'll get those answered for you. So until then, we will catch you later.